Hey, gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We're talking about the Detroit Lions in tonight's video. I understand they lost 48-42 at home to the Buffalo Bills. They are now 12-2 on the season, and we talked about it in the rapid reaction on this channel once the game concluded. A couple of days ago, I was very concerned with the Detroit Lions, and the only reason is literally health. That's literally the only reason. And then I start looking at the roster. I start looking at the depth chart, the statistics, the players, the offense specifically, and I just believe. I don't know, man. I remember Aiden Hutchinson at the time, the best edge rusher in the National Football League, probably on his way to win Defensive Player of the Year. Aiden Hutchinson, forgive me, I should have looked up when this happened. It's like 9:30 here on Florida on a Wednesday night. I'm just going off the dome here. Aiden Hutchinson got injured around 2 months ago, right? And it wasn't until literally like 3 days ago that they lost their first game without Aiden. But at that point in time, I remember thinking to myself, like, that one really sucks. That one might suck enough that that just might be the end. Not to say Detroit can't win the NFC North. They can't win the NFC. They can't, win some playoff games. They can't make the Super Bowl. Aiden Hutchinson's done for the season, or he's done until the Super Bowl. Feels too storybook. I don't know. There's something about the resiliency of this Detroit Lions team that, I don't know, man. I watched the Philadelphia Eagles play football. They're a good team. They're a talented team. I don't feel crazy inspired. My Green Bay Packers, I think, honestly, are probably one of the bigger threats in the NFC in general. But, Minnesota's a really talented team as well. It's just a really cool playoffs for the NFC that we're about to embark on. But folks, before we get any further into tonight's video, hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. Post a ton of Lions videos on this channel. So if you're trying to give this one to 150 likes, folks, that would mean the absolute world to me. I want to rattle off some fun statistics here and some non-fun statistics just to kind of illustrate the point in case you're not too familiar with what happened against Buffalo or just the Detroit Lions injuries in season. But the point is, the Detroit Lions still lead the NFL in scoring. They lead the NFL in scoring margin at plus 177. That's a Madden statistic. They are number one in points scored at 459. And their defense is actually 1 of 2 with more interceptions at 14 than passing touchdowns allowed at 13. And they're also the 6th best rushing defense in the NFL. So just to kind of go back to that point that I was talking about Aiden Hutchinson, 8 Lions players rank amongst the top 40 defenders currently on IR when sorted by total EPA. No other team has more than 2. The Detroit Lions have 8. Now, 52% of Detroit's defensive starters or direct backups are currently on the IR. Now, the last stat I saw was the Detroit Lions have 22 players on injured reserve. Now, an article I read earlier this afternoon was that David Montgomery might not technically be done for the season. So they might not have placed him on IR since the time of that report and right now. But the point is they have a round, right? That's the gist. And on Sunday against the Buffalo Bills, which I don't know, dude. The Lions are getting so ragged on for just genuinely losing that football game despite all their shortcomings injury-wise defensively, even in that football game that we'll get to in a second. The Bills have given up 40 points or more in the last 2 weeks to Detroit and Los Angeles. I'd said this in our rapid reaction a couple of days ago. I go back to that Baltimore Ravens game from against the Detroit Lions in Baltimore 1 year ago, and I don't even bat an eye. That game does not. It's a 17-game regular season. There's going to be a dud or two in a game where your starting quarterback throws for 494 yards and 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I'm just having a hard time being upset. But the reason you could be upset is because this past weekend against Buffalo, Carlton Davis, done. Khalil Dorsey, the backup, done. Pro Bowl caliber Lee McNeil, who's had a phenomenal season, done. Now, keep in mind, Carlton Davis, the last report I saw is that he's got a broken jaw. That's about a 6-week recovery time. So he does have a chance to technically return in the NFC Championship game, all the others apparently to be done for the entire season, playoffs included. But that's just good news. For example, I don't know, Alex Anzalone just came to my mind. He's going to be back sooner rather than later. But then, unfortunately, yesterday, Dan Campbell announced that David Montgomery tore his MCL. That required technically season-ending knee surgery. And this is the sixth best rushing team in the NFL. He leads the league at his position in success rate. Like, I don't need to explain to you why David Montgomery is a really good running back. But I'm also at the same time kind of intrigued. All right, Jahmyr Gibbs, RB1. Are we about to see like a Bijan Robinson? I mean, he's pretty much, in my opinion, he's better than Bijan, but like, is he about to see Bijan snaps? Jahmyr Gibbs is a dude who comes into a football game and gets like, 10 to 12, 13, 15 carries, a couple of catches. And I'm always watching this team. And if it wasn't for David Montgomery, I'd be thinking, give the ball to this dude like way more than what you're doing. But they have David Montgomery. So I am kind of excited to see utility man Craig Reynolds, but led by Jahmyr Gibbs. But that was what we saw there. When I look at the Detroit Lions, I look at players like Jahmyr Gibbs that we just mentioned, Jared Goff, who's like kind of having an MVP season, Sam Laporta, Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown. You've got an offensive line with 3 Pro Bowlers. You have DJ Reader, new acquisition from Cincinnati. You have Zadarius Smith, newest trade deadline acquisition from the Cleveland Browns. You have Jack Campbell, who's had a phenomenal sophomore campaign. You have Brian Branch, who's had also a phenomenal sophomore campaign. Kirby Joseph, there are so many others. And that just, when you watch a Detroit Lions football game, especially their wins, and they haven't had a loss in like 3 calendar months up until Sunday against Buffalo, I'm just not concerned. Because you go back, I mean, even if you're playing like a Madden franchise, I mean, guys get hurt. One big thing heading into the playoffs, heading into championship time is, who, no matter the sport, who's healthy? Who's healthy, who's not healthy? And even though Detroit's been decimated with over 20 guys on IR, mostly defense, you haven't really felt it. I just haven't really felt that. Aiden Hutchinson, the thought process was when Aiden Hutchinson went down with the season-ending injury, or at least regular season-ending injury, is, all right, they're screwed because they don't have anybody to rush the passer. Well, that hasn't been an issue in the last 2 months. So I'm a Packers fan. As you guys know, I got a lot of family from the Detroit area, so I am biased in that sense. But they're still the number 1 team in the NFC. Their final 3 games on the road against Chicago on Sunday, then followed up week 17 Monday night on the road against San Francisco, whose season's pretty much done. And then week 18, which will probably be maybe not for the division, very likely for the division, also maybe for the number 1 seed in the NFC against the Minnesota Vikings. I'm not giving up. I don't think Lions fans are giving up either. Let me know what you guys are thinking down below. Thank you for watching. Hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. Let me know your thoughts on this Detroit Lions team at 12-2 with all these injuries down below. We'll see you in a couple of days. Peace.